According to statistics, suicide is one of the leading causes of death for men worldwide. In many countries, men are 3 to 4 times likely to die by suicide than women. Men are less likely to access mental health support, yet they are more likely to turn to substance abuse. And then in my dearest country, Nigeria, and many other African countries, there is a deep-rooted stigma that surrounds men expressing vulnerability or even showing emotion, even when they are distressed. Hey there, family. It's time to rewrite narratives that shape family life. This is the Family Journal. It's my favorite people again. Happy Sunday, guys. Welcome to another episode on the Family Journal. Today, we're speaking up for the men again. Some people may be getting a hang of things now because we've been talking about all things men all through this month. Daddy issues, lessons from a father's absence in a man's life. And today, we are now talking about the man-up culture, aka toxic masculinity. So, it's Men's Mental Health Month, and it is also that period where men are reminded of how important they are, how that they need a healthy well-being to show up as the men that they are. When I was growing up, at the time when I lived with my father and stepmother, I struggled a lot with being vulnerable. I struggled with being overly independent, not wanting to share my thoughts or whatever it is I was feeling with them or anybody at all. I would always keep to myself, regardless of what it was. Even if I did not understand what it is I was feeling, I would keep to myself. I didn't like to share with anyone, especially because sharing didn't feel safe. Let's just say I didn't have a safe space. And people can only be vulnerable in safe spaces. My experience shaped who I was at the time, my behavior and my responses to situations around me. And sadly, it followed me into adulthood. Like I always say, we discover certain things on time and sometimes not too early, but if you are determined, you can always do something about it. This, my friend, is what culture and society has done to men. Man up, bro. You have to be strong. It starts from a younger age. Boys don't cry. And then there's an 8-year-old who doesn't even know a lot about living in this dark, cold world. Yet somehow, he's told to forget he's a child, a human being. And then he becomes cold and emotionless. And when he gets to the teenage stage, he's filled with so much anger, unprocessed emotions and thoughts that he can't even make sense of. That is what society has made out of men. And according to statistics, suicide is one of the leading causes of death for men worldwide. In many countries, men are 3 to 4 times likely to die by suicide than women. It also says that men are less likely to access mental health support, yet they are more likely to turn to substance abuse. And then in my dearest country, Nigeria, and many other African countries, there is a deep-rooted stigma that surrounds men expressing vulnerability or even showing emotion, even when they are distressed. I can remember watching a funny video about breakups. So they showed the side of the women and then the side of the men. So when it got to the part of the women, after the breakup, she had a call with her friends, cried her eyes out. She ranted. She said everything that was on her mind. Took ice cream, chocolates, cried again, made sure she let all the emotions out, And you know what women do whenever they have heartbreaks? They call everybody, they say what needs to be said. Even if it means calling the person who did that to them, they will tell you what's on their mind and whatever it is you did to them. Then when they showed us the part of the guys, he didn't do much. All he did was just take the whole thing in, continue with his life, played games with his friends, never talked about the thing never process this emotion. And then somehow, magically, men always expect that because they are men, so they're not prone to emotions and the effect of suppressed emotions. He didn't process nothing. And then, as usual, we expect that men will be better. And then we wonder why men get so angry most of the time. We wonder why little things stress them up. We wonder why they are just so aggressive. But we forget that they are bearing so much. I don't know why it's a thing. I don't even know the first person to start the whole toxic masculinity culture. I don't know who first said that men shouldn't cry or men shouldn't show emotion. And I don't know how men have done it over the years. But anytime I don't take care of my own emotions, just know that everything is going to go south because I can't even continue from something I have not addressed. It will always show up later. You cannot beat emotions. You're a human being. I wouldn't be able to think straight or do anything in the next few days if something has not been settled within me. Nobody was expected to do this life alone. Nobody was expected to have all the answers. That is why we have communities. And sadly, we humans don't take advantage of communities as we should. Yes, we have people who, preach community, people who try as much as possible to show up for their community members and, create these communities. But we do not often talk about the essence or the significance of community and how we can maximize or take advantage of these communities. And sometimes, even seemingly good communities can become toxic with time, especially when everybody is not aligned or when some people feel like I'm just here because of a particular thing. But community is more than just being there because you belong to a community for a purpose. It's there because community is just like family. In churches, many churches all over the world, we rarely get to see men have gatherings where they talk about the challenges they encounter daily or how they feel. We mainly have women, communities for women in churches. Oh, women talk about this, women talk about that. But then we rarely hear men talk about how they feel or how life is affecting them. And even when these communities are created for men, men still shy away from being a part of them. And even when they become part of these communities, they stay bottled up without divulging any information. Because just like I said in the beginning, nobody will divulge information or open up to people who they are not comfortable with. Men have been shamed in the past and even in the present for showing emotions or taking care of themselves. There was a time when skincare routine was like a taboo for them. Oh, they say he's a feminine guy. And then there was a time when if a man said he wanted to self-care, it's like, oh, why man go they do self-care self? So if you played video games, you drank beer or you did crazy stuff, you could boldly say you were a man or you are a man. But if you cared for your mental health and well-being, that means that's a taboo. You're not supposed to do that because obviously, like I said, you are a man. And so, just like I said in the beginning, one of the biggest problems why people are not vulnerable or why people cannot be themselves is because they don't have safe spaces. And sometimes people have become accustomed to standards and structures they either put on themselves or built for themselves, or they allowed others to, build for them, and they fit into that mold, and it's very hard for them to come out of it. It's very hard for them to be themselves except from what they've always known or what society has told them to be or what they themselves have allowed into their lives. And this is one of the reasons why men continue to suffer from the whole shaming thing, from the whole toxic masculinity culture. And this is why suicide amongst men continue. This is why there's so much rage, there's so much anger. Men are not being taken care of because they've been told that they are not supposed to be taken care of. I remember watching one of the episodes from with the Perrys, Jackie Hill Perry and her husband, Preston. So Jackie was talking about how safe space is necessary if a man will be vulnerable. In fact, if anybody at all, even children, will be vulnerable, safe spaces are necessary. So I remember when Preston was saying, he remember first time he cried in front of Jackie, and he was expecting that she would be like, why are you crying? You're a man, stuff like that. And when she didn't do it, he apologized for crying because he's a man. And she was like, you're human. Why are you apologizing? And he cried another time when something happened. And to him, it was like, I don't want this to get to a point where, you know, I let out my emotions a lot of times and she gets tired of it and like, oh my God, so just because I allowed you cry one time, you're crying again and stuff like that. But it was never the case with the both of them, because maybe it's because of her personality or because she understood or she understands that we are humans. And to be honest, let me ask this. If you can't show everything outside, are you not supposed to show it inside? I think she understood that particular thing, and she never for once shamed him for being the way he was when he was in a vulnerable state. And here's what I learned from what they were saying: consistency. So being consistent with how safe you've made it for people to be themselves or for people to be vulnerable really matters. You don't allow them express themselves today and then tomorrow you just tell them off or tell them that's enough. I've had enough of it. But allowing people to be themselves, consistently being there for them, showing up for them, patting them on the back and telling them it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to let it out, because you know that you're a human being and also need that safe space. Let's talk about the man up culture. Man up, be tough, don't cry, handle it like a man. We start indoctrinating these ideas into boys, telling them that they shouldn't cry, they shouldn't show emotions. This has become a thing in homes, it has become a thing in schools, the media, even in the church. At home, the father will tell the boy, you're not supposed to cry, you're supposed to protect your sisters. Yes, you're supposed to protect your sisters, we agree. But telling him that when something hurts, he shouldn't express it is crazy. These things are part of the human psychology. You're supposed to respond to certain things because you're a human being. Yet, churches, schools, the media has created some sort of idea surrounding how a man should behave, who a man should be, and what a man should do. And to make everything worse, we talk about these messages so much, but we forget to teach boys how to handle emotions. I've talked about, how that we don't talk about mental health in family life. We don't talk about, okay, when I'm angry, what do I do? When I'm sad, what do I do? We only beat children. And that was one of the reasons why I said families need to have conversations. So let's get from the point where you only beat and shout to a point where we discuss. So whenever you're found in this situation, what should you do? Whenever somebody pisses you off or whenever somebody speaks badly about your family and they cannot be talking about your dad or your mom like that, and the only thing that is in your mind is to fight, what should you do? These are conversations people should have at home, and not about preaching that boys shouldn't cry or boys shouldn't show emotions. Because men struggle to express love, men struggle to express pain and confusion. So if a man is expressing love, oh, he's being a simp. That's the new one. You guys just keep coming up with crazy things. He's being a simp. That's the only thing he knows how to do. Look at how he's allowing a woman step over him. And when a man is feeling pain, he has to hold it in because men have to be strong, right? And when a man is confused, he's not allowed to be confused because, how can't you think on your feet? You are a man. So man up, be a man. Sadly, without people really thinking, these things have impacted our relationships a lot. Relationships among friends, parents, brotherhood, and it has increased violence because look at the way some elder brothers treat their younger sisters, or in fact people around them. It just shows everything that is going on in their mind. The Bible will tell you that out of the heart the mouth speaketh, the abundance of the heart, the abundance, like whatever it is inside of you, that is what you display for others to see. And so we raise boys to think that they're above emotions, that they're above being human. And so we now raise damaged men. So let's take a step back to when I talked about broken homes and absent fathers, fragile relationships among parents and their children. I said something about some of these fathers who were absent also having absent fathers. And so, who do you want to learn from? You will learn from the place you come from, right? And sadly, even though we are now aware of these things, they are still continuing because some people don't think that there is anything wrong with them. They don't think that there's anything wrong with their decision or their lifestyle. So they think it's normal. I mean, this is how men should be, right? But then we are forgetting the damage it is causing to communities, to families, to organizations, to institutions all over the world. It is a pandemic. And the earlier we realize it and support men, the better for the world. And here is the crazy thing about men not asking for help, showing emotions, or being vulnerable. The crazy thing is that it all sums up into mental health issues, starting from depression. Like I said, when people don't know how to express their emotions or process them, you get to a point where you show everything off as anger. And we have this very common among men. It shows up as anger, irritability, you know, risk taking. They take stupid risks, they do crazy things, and then they start to isolate themselves. They don't want to talk. They give you one blank answers. And sometimes it's true. We have men who prefer to be quiet, and we have men who prefer to talk. But I'm coming from the angle of them not, being able to express their emotions. It's like they need the permission of the society. They need the permission of culture to embrace who they really are. And the truth is, nobody needs the permission of anybody to be human. You only need you to let yourself be human, because you have blood flowing through your veins. So when you need to cry, my brother, cry. When you need to ask for help, ask for help. And when you need to let it out, oh my God, you don't need my permission. Please let it out. Because whatever it is you're bottling up now will definitely show up tomorrow. Another crazy thing is anxiety. From a younger age, men are told that they are providers. Men are told that they are supposed to be the ones governing and doing this and doing that. And then we put so much pressure on little boys. And this is not me saying it is wrong for people to learn things on time, but the pressure attached to this thing often leads to anxiety. They are restless. There's so much tension. They are thinking 24/7. How do I do this? How do I become this? Oh, this, that. And then it gets to a point where they don't sleep well. And when they can't get that rest, you can't expect that person to be 100% well functioning in anything that they are doing. Is it substance abuse? We have substance abuse, and men are the ones who most likely misuse drugs and alcohol. They use these things as coping mechanisms. Remember what I said earlier? If a man was, into self-care, he's told he can't be doing that because he's a man. But if he was to be taking beer or playing video games or doing anything that we term as manly, that is when he is a man. And some people have said that men have a way they cope with stress. It is true. Everybody has a way they manage stress. I don't like to use the word cope, because if it feels like you're still holding on to that thing instead of finding a way to let it go. So men have a way of doing it, but in as much as you guys have like these coping mechanisms, is it enough? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? Are you getting the help that you need? Let's not even talk about PTSD, especially from people who come from war or conflicted environments, childhood violence and stuff. Let's not even talk about that. A lot of the people we see walking on the streets are suffering from PTSD. We don't talk about mental health enough, especially here in Nigeria. And it is costing us so much, costing us a lot of lives. Or is it work related stress and burnout? Feeling overwhelmed to perform under pressure? Or identity and role confusion? As a man, you must do this, you must do this. And so men are stuck in between, traditional masculinity and modern expectations. There's so much pressure. And men need models, men need people to talk to, they need help. But who do they want to tell? You can talk about this thing and you'll be told that you are not man enough since you don't know what to do. Because men are always expected to be ahead. You should know what to do. You should think on your feet. That doesn't mean that there are not days you have confusions. I mean, when companies are brainstorming, the first ideas don't always make the final ideas. It takes collective effort from both the male and the female gender. And so you don't expect that a man should have the answers to everything. I heard Dimeji, the content creator, talking the other day, also the host of the Flow podcast. He said he got to a point where he just needed to allow himself, be vulnerable to his wife and just tell his wife what's happening. And when he started doing that, his life became a lot easier because before he would bottle up and hold up so many things and it was making it hard for him. And you would not effectively show up as a husband or as a father or even at your workplace because, oh my God, I said this thing before, you cannot bear everything alone. There's a reason why we have communities. There's a reason why we have 3 persons in one God. There's also a reason why you have a family because you are not allowed to bear burdens alone. God in his infinite wisdom knew about this and he put us in communities. And so when Dimeji started to share things with his wife and his wife would just tell him, guy, go and rest. That was the beginning of his stress-free life. Saying how you feel or saying you're tired or you need to rest is not a sign of weakness. Crying is not a sign of weakness. Even the strongest warriors cry. We are not always there in battles with soldiers. We don't see how they show off these emotions, but even they too, they cry. And so toxic masculinity is one culture that needs to be erased from the surface of the earth ASAP. It has done more harm than any good anybody thinks it will ever do. It has discouraged emotional expression and it has caused men to internalize struggles. And this isn't supposed to be a thing. Men, listen to me, you are not weak. And you are man enough even if you cry today. You don't have to be emotionally unstable. You don't have to withdraw from your loved ones. You don't have to neglect your responsibilities. You don't have to get to a point where you can't sleep and you feel worthless for being open. You don't have to get to that point. You don't have to be scared of being vulnerable. You don't have to, get to the point where you talking is like reducing your worth as a man. No. You are only human and you are only experiencing one of life's many woes, and then it is normal for you to react in that way. So how do we help our dear men? How do we help them? What do we really do so that these men can live a fulfilling, wholesome life? Let's watch out for when they have trouble sleeping, when they withdraw from their loved ones, when they start to act out or neglect responsibilities. Let's create safe space, judgment-free space for men. Let's create those for them. Ask them how they are really doing. And when you ask them, please listen. Allow them say everything that's on their mind. If possible, encourage them to go for therapy. They'll go argue with you, they will talk plenty, but take them for therapy. Let them normalize expressing emotions. Start with the little boys. Tell them it's not bad to express how you feel. It's not bad to cry. Let them have free and and also workplaces need to set up these policies. Some companies and institutions are doing this already, but it needs to become like a thing. It needs to be known. We also need more male-friendly therapy environments because people have, said, oh, it's women that go for therapy, or they say it's white people. All of these stigmas surrounding the whole idea of therapy. Black people are strong, we don't crack. That does not mean that black people shouldn't go for therapy. Also, fatherhood and parenting systems. I've said this before. Everyone needs a community. Guys, men, fathers, talk about these things. We can raise the next generation of healthy, wholesome men who will live fulfilling lives. These are things that will make all of these solutions hard to execute. The fear of being vulnerable, lack of emotional vocab, the fear of being vulnerable. If a man is still battling with the fear of being vulnerable, it's going to be hard for him to want to express himself. If we've not, just like children, when we say the way you respond to a child when he tells you the first thing he tells you would determine if that child is coming back to you. Just like anybody, if you don't create a safe space for me, I will not come back to tell you nothing. So if we are not creating safe spaces for men, we should learn to do that today so that they can be vulnerable. Another problem, or what will make men not want to say anything, is because they do not know how to express themselves. They lack the emotional vocabulary because they were never taught. Remember what I said, we start to indoctrinate boys from small and we tell them what they can and cannot do or allow and cannot allow. And then they get to a point where they are growing with that mindset and it's shaping the men that they are becoming. So we should start with the little boys. Start to teach them these things. Start to tell them that there is nothing bad with it. There's nothing bad with being emotionally expressive, and they can always ask for help when they need it. Negative experiences can also be a problem. Remember when I said men are being mocked for crying or dismissed when they are hurt or told that they are being too weak? People will always respond based on what they've been told in the past. It's like trauma response. Just like the story I told earlier, I didn't feel safe to divulge information to my dad and my stepmom, and so I kept to myself. I kept holding on even the things I didn't understand. And so if a man is mocked for crying or dismissed when he's hurt, know that that man is not going to say what's on his mind, especially because of his previous experience. Lastly, our workplaces need to be chill. For real. Workplace pressure. I know somebody will say, the world is moving fast. Oh, yes, we live in a frenetic world. But we should also remember that it takes, healthy minds to produce results. It takes healthy minds to produce results. And if we have minds that are going through a lot, we shouldn't expect them to perform the maximum. If the men who are experiencing these things are not fully aware or are still fitted in that box that society has built or created for them, we're going to have a lot more years to fight these issues. So, to everyone out there, make safe spaces for men. I think we can start there. Tell little boys that it is okay to be vulnerable and ask for help. Tell little boys that crying doesn't make you less of a male. It is okay to express emotions. Mothers, sisters, wives, friends, show up for these men when they need you. Ask them how they are really doing. Bring up topics that they wouldn't even expect you to bring up. Say things out of the blues to draw their attention to how human they are. And then, hopefully, we can start to fight these issues one after the other. Thank you for sticking with me today. I remain your host, Jane Adili. This is the Family Journal. Thank you for listening to the Family Journal. To share your story or your topics with us, reach out to us on familyjournalstories@gmail.com. If you want to keep it anonymous, you can reach out to us on Instagram at the Family Journal and get the anonymous link in our bio. Thank you.